So in personal conversations and emails between us, you and I have discussed the struggle of a rabbi or any public leader in trying to find the right balance between being with one's family on the one hand versus being, with your students in the outside world. This is not an easy task, and sometimes rabbis or great leaders will become so focused on saving the world that they neglect their own children and wife and family. Can you share your thoughts on this topic?
Yes, over the years I have become more and more aware of the fact that I did not give enough time to my children. I plead partially guilty, not completely guilty, in the sense that I was so busy not just with giving shiurim and speaking to my students, but also financially making sure that we had enough money to keep the family going, which often meant that I had to leave for 6-7 weeks to America to give lecture tours, which was my income at the time. There was another thing in my case, and that is that when we came to Israel, I couldn't understand, and I probably cannot understand till this day, how the school system works here. So totally different from anything I had experienced as a child. So I couldn't really help my children with homework, which I felt very bad about. I don't know if they even know about this. I just couldn't help them because I couldn't understand how things were taught in the Israeli system. It was completely different of what I had learned, and obviously what I had learned was outdated by what they were learning. So I feel not good about that. Another thing is that I didn't, and that is especially true about my son, is I didn't give him enough time to learn with him. Also, again, it was a time issue. And my personality, and this is very private, but I'm prepared to tell you that, I am not sure whether or not my relationship with my son, by way of learning, would have been the best way to build that relationship. Let's put it like that. I'm still not sure about that till this very day. Now it is even more problematic in one way, and that is that I don't learn anymore the way how he learns. He learns still the yeshiva way. I don't do this anymore. So that makes it a little harder. So when we did learn, we sometimes have a gavruse or had a gavruse. Most of the time he did the talking, and I let him talk. And there's a problem here, but that's really another topic, and that is, to what extent are you prepared to share your ideas with your children, especially when they're young. Yes, this is a problem. I hear from my colleagues, rabbis, but also pastors and also people, all of them have this problem. And I remember that Rabbi Riskin, who I greatly admire, not always agree, but greatly admire, once told me that he was sitting in a plane and he was sitting next to a very big black guy who was looking in a magazine which one shouldn't look in. And they came into conversation after the stewardess offered Rabbi Riskin food. And Rabbi Riskin didn't have kosher food arranged for this flight because it was a flight at the last moment. And the fellow, I hope I tell the story right, next to him says to him, you take my potatoes and I take your meat. Let's change. And Rabbi Riskin looked up to him and he said, how do you know that I won't eat the meat? So he tells them, because I'm the child of a very famous religious leader in the probably black community. And therefore I know a little bit about kashrut or whatever it was. Anyway, so Rabbi Riskin said, I hope I tell the story right. This is what I remember. So why are you looking in these magazines as a child of a pastor? So he said, because I've got no connection at all anymore with my father. I got so terribly upset with him because he was the whole day busy with the church and with his people there. He had to look after, he never had any time for him. I totally broke with him. And Rabbi Riskin said back to him, listen, my dear friend, be aware, I'm a rabbi, I have the same problem as your father has, and be aware how much pain it causes us that we don't have the time for our children. And there is little what we can do about this, and you should try to make contact again with your father. And somehow, if I correctly remember, the man told him later that he picked up the phone and phoned his father after, 30, 40 years, and he got the cashier again because he suddenly realized how difficult this was for his father, not only for him, but also for his father. And this is powerful stuff here. And yes, this is difficult. I have a friend who has been teaching courses for rabbis, I think, on these issues, and has told me quite a few things about communication between rabbis and their children, or for that reason any clergyman, which is a much bigger problem in the religious world than most people are aware of. And I'm still reading him, learning a lot of things, and also about misunderstandings. You give an interpretation in your child or in your parent one way where you completely miss the boat altogether because they meant something completely different, which is altogether a problem about communication between people. How older I get, the more I am aware that also I have a good relationship with my children. I definitely held them back from all the love or held myself back better from all the love I would have loved to give them and for which there was just no time. And that is a very unpleasant feeling.